So you've been with your boyfriend for 11 years. You started young, and you've built a life together. It makes sense that you want to get married and you're feeling frustrated that it hasn't happened yet. We gathered some advice from a community known for its honesty, and some of it might be tough to hear. But they all want you to be truly happy. To help us understand all of it, we have our expert here.
It can be really hard to navigate these long-term relationships, especially the ones that start when you're young. There are so many emotions and expectations and personal growth involved.
Yeah, and it sounds like you've reached the point where your expectations and his aren't matching up. The arguments, the broken promises, and just feeling unappreciated, all of that is really taking a toll. Many are concerned that your boyfriend just might not want to get married. Some even say you're settling for less than you deserve. That's got to be hard to hear, but it's important for us to dive into why they're saying these things.
It's not about saying anyone is good or bad. It's more about understanding what's happening between you two. One thing that keeps coming up in the advice is that he just has no motivation to change. He's comfortable and he's getting everything he needs without having to put in the effort that a marriage takes.
People are literally saying things like, he has no motivation to put forth any effort, or he is comfortable and has no interest in changing himself, his situation, or yours. That's got to sting, especially after putting so much time and emotion into the relationship.
This is a classic case of the sunk cost fallacy. We humans tend to hold on to things even when they aren't good for us anymore, just because we've already put so much into it. You've put 11 years into this relationship. That's like your entire adult life. It's completely understandable to want to make it work, but you have to ask yourself, is staying really the best thing for you, or is it just what you're used to?
There's this one piece of advice that says, sweetheart, you always have a good time when you do whatever he says. I think this brings up an important point about whether there's a power imbalance. Are you really happy, or are you just doing whatever it takes to avoid a fight?
That's such a great question. And we see the same idea in the advice. He shouldn't be in charge of her life. She should be in charge of her own. It's not about one person controlling the other. It's about you taking charge of your own life and setting boundaries. You have choices. You don't have to stay in a situation that isn't fulfilling you.
You said that you wanted to get married so that he would be legally in charge of your life if something happened to you.
That's a valid thing to be thinking about, but there are legal ways to make sure your wishes are respected without being married. Like you could have a healthcare proxy where you choose someone to make medical decisions if you can't. That takes the pressure off needing to be married to have that security. And then you can really focus on what you want in a relationship. Things like love and partnership, mutual respect, and a shared vision for the future.
Speaking of the future, one commenter said this: if they had married by now, they'd be getting a divorce anyway. Now that might sound harsh, but is there some truth to it? Is it possible that staying in this relationship out of fear of the unknown is actually stopping you from finding something better?
We started dating so young, you've both grown up a lot together. And sometimes people grow in different directions. Your needs and desires may have changed so much that they just don't match up anymore, no matter how much history you have together.
It's a tough pill to swallow, especially after 11 years.
Yeah.
But you clearly want to get married. You want that public declaration of commitment and love. And it just doesn't sound like he wants the same thing.
Right, and that's where the tough choices come in. Do you keep waiting and hoping he changes his mind? Or do you accept that this might not be the future you always pictured? And do you start creating a new future, one where you're choosing your own happiness?
It's a lot to think about. You said you feel unappreciated, like you do everything for him and get nothing back. That ties back to the power imbalance we were talking about.
Absolutely. A healthy relationship goes both ways. It's about mutual respect, appreciation, and effort. You should feel like your partner is your biggest cheerleader, not someone who takes you for granted. But it doesn't sound like things are equal in your relationship.
Like, remember that time you planned a surprise for him? You went out of your way to do something nice and he got mad at you. That must have been really hurtful.
It's not about the surprise itself. It's about how he reacted. It shows that he doesn't really consider your feelings or appreciate what you do for him. You deserve to feel valued, not like you're walking on eggshells, afraid to even mention getting married because you know it'll start a fight.
And it's concerning that he said he wouldn't marry you if you brought it up again. It's almost like he's trying to shut down the conversation and keep things the way they are. Yeah.
It shows a pattern of him not being emotionally available. You mentioned having to go along with everything he wants. But when you ask him for something, it's like you're nagging. There's just this imbalance of power and a lack of respect for your needs and opinions. It's like you're doing all the emotional work in the relationship, and that can be exhausting.
And heartbreaking when it's not reciprocated. It sounds like he's comfortable with the way things are, and isn't willing to put in the effort to change, even if it means losing you.
And sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is walk away, even if it means letting go of what you thought your future would be. It's the most loving thing for both of you, because it lets you both break free from something that isn't working anymore. And then you can both find happiness, whether it's together or not.
It's like you're grieving a dream,
Yeah.
right? The dream of growing old with this person, of building a life together. 11 years is a long time, especially when it covers such important years of your life. You've both grown and changed so much that it's normal to wonder if you've just outgrown the relationship.
It's almost like you're both on different journeys now. Maybe they were going in the same direction for a while, but now they're going in opposite directions. What felt good and exciting at 18 might feel totally different at 27. It's not about blaming anyone, it's just recognizing that people change. And sometimes those changes mean you end up on different paths.
You're not the same people you were when you were 16. And it's possible that what you want and need now are totally different. It's not necessarily that you don't love each other anymore. It's more about realizing that you're becoming different people.
Yeah.
And those new people might not be compatible, no matter how much history you have.
Exactly. And it's better to figure that out now than to keep hoping for a future that might never happen. It's about being honest with yourself and acknowledging what you need. Ask yourself, what do I really want? And am I getting that in this relationship?
And if the answer is no, then maybe it's time to think about other options, even if that feels really hard. It can be overwhelming to think about starting over, especially after putting so much into this relationship.
You're going to feel a lot of emotions, sadness, anger, confusion, but that's all part of healing. And remember, you're not alone in this. There are people who care about you and want to support you.
Yeah, sometimes the best thing you can do is ask for help. Talk to a therapist or a trusted friend or family member. They can listen to you and give you advice from a different perspective and help you see the situation more clearly so you can make decisions that are good for you.
Exactly. And walking away from a relationship doesn't mean you failed. It means you chose yourself. You chose your own happiness. That takes a lot of strength.
One commenter even said, being with this guy is stopping you from meeting your future husband. It might sound cliche, but there's truth to that. Sometimes you have to let go of something that isn't working to make room for something better.
It's about trusting that the universe has a plan for you, a plan that might be even better than what you're holding on to now.
It starts with realizing you deserve better and choosing to create a future where your needs are met, a future where your partner listens to you and you feel loved and supported, and a future where you feel cherished, not just tolerated.
A love that helps you grow and become the best version of yourself.
Yes. And it's about rediscovering who you are outside of this relationship, exploring what you're interested in, and building a life you love, whether you're in a relationship or not.
When you focus on your own happiness, you attract the right kind of love.
The kind of love that doesn't make you change who you are. The kind of love where your partner sees how amazing you are and supports you.
The kind of love that feels like coming home.
And that's the kind of love worth waiting for.
It really is.
So what do we do now? The advice is pretty clear. It doesn't seem like he's going to propose. He's had all this time and hasn't done it. It's hard, but you have to be realistic.
Yeah, and sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away. It's the bravest thing you can do for yourself. And even for him, it lets you both move on from something that just isn't working. And maybe you'll both find happiness, even if it's not with each other.
If you're feeling lost, it might be a good idea to talk to a therapist. They can help you sort through everything you're feeling and understand what you need and find the strength to make those hard choices.
Therapy is a really great place to figure things out. You can talk about your feelings, challenge your beliefs, and build your self-worth. It's a way to take care of yourself.
And don't forget, you deserve love and respect. You deserve to be with someone who really cares about you, someone who wants to spend their life with you, someone who sees how special you are and appreciates everything you do, and who makes you feel safe and loved and supported.
Someone who chooses you every single day.
Exactly. So as we finish up this deep dive, I want you to think about this. What would your future self 5 years from now thank you for doing today? Would she thank you for staying in a relationship that makes you unhappy? Or would she thank you for being strong enough to walk away and create a life that you truly love, a life that's full of love, respect, and partnership?
That's the kind of future everyone deserves.
It really is. Thanks for being here with us today. We hope this helped you think about things in a new way. Remember, your happiness is important, and sometimes you have to let go of what's not working so you can find something even better.